views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDBTV.
Hello, welcome to the latest edition of Let's Talk Sports with Rick and Jack. How are you, Jack?
Wonderful,
Good to
sir.
see you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Everything is just beautiful. It's been a crazy week in sports again. We have so much going on with football and basketball and college football ramping up and the controversies there and car racing and tennis and golf. So we got a lot to talk about. We were very excited about last week's show. We had a lot of reaction, but I always like to start the show by, we watch a lot of sports. We have a lot of opinions on sports. This is strictly our show about all the sports, and as you know, our next show will be about football, NFL. We handicap what's coming up for the week. We put some dollars on it and make sure that we're staying true to you guys and giving you some good picks, which I totally sucked last week, but we'll get into football later. I didn't know, Jack. But in the world of sports, what was your impression this week? What did you take away from that wow moment, that thing that really stood out for you? There's always something that stands out every week. What was it for you?
This week was actually Dallas. You know, despite it being an epic comeback, one of the things that stood out to me was the fact that Atlanta didn't know what to do. And
unbelievable.
And the fact is, like, I've always heard the whole cliche, you know, there are three phases of the football, you know, offense, defense, and special teams. And oh my gosh, this game was the epitome of special teams showing up for Dallas and not showing up for Atlanta. And here we are, you know, now we have Dak Prescott in the books. You know, he's about to get.
Hey, we got him in the books with the win that should have never happened. If you understand onside kicks and what you're supposed to do, I mean, that was ridiculous. And I know that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
That was crazy.
Yes, it was crazy, and it's like it's a Hollywood ending for Dallas. You know.
Oh my God, Jerry Jones out there, you know, like he just won the Super Bowl. I'm not a Jerry Jones fan.
Everything had to go right, and it did right.
Oh,
it went right for them. It's like watching Rudy.
Yeah, you know, there's a couple things amazing to me there when you talk about it. Number one, the kick was amazing. They call it the watermelon kick. There was no tee. He put it right on the ground. Kicks the ball, and it immediately takes a right turn like this. But the thing that was amazing, as Atlanta could have jumped on it at any moment. I saw a minimum 3 guys standing there. They could have jumped on the ball before it went 10 yards. You don't have to wait. As you all know, you're football fans. You don't have to wait for it to go 10 yards. But they waited, and then they waited, and the Dallas guy slipped in there, and it's like, that's, as you mentioned, poor coaching, poor special teams, and shame on Atlanta. They should have won that game. Shame on them. Shame on them. And if you're a money line player, you won the game. If you play odds like I do, I lost the game. But I mean, Atlanta, how can you mentally get straight after a game like that?
You have to go back to the drawing board and, like, in a sense, evaluate. Do we really know the rules of the game? You know, perfect example. Remember a few years ago, let's say few, but when Donovan McNabb was playing, I want to say it was one of the first few overtime games, and then the game ended, and he thought they were going to go to another quarter.
He didn't know there was such a thing as a tie. This isn't playoffs.
They didn't know the rules.
Yeah.
So, you know, in a sense, Atlanta didn't know the rules, and it's probably a wake-up call for the rest of the league because there were probably other teams that didn't know.
Unbelievable.
So.
And I'm sure a lot of you saw the game. I'm sure there's a lot of Dallas fans out there. I know a lot of Dallas fans in Las Vegas and all over the world. But they had to be real happy unless they had a bet on the game and gave points, which I did, and I lost. But, I mean, again, you talk about the 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. Special teams are generally in the game what makes a difference. And for that to happen in the NFL and somebody not to jump on that ball, shame on you, Atlanta. So that was your wow moment.
That was my wow. What about you? What stood out this week?
What stood out for me was the U.S. Open golf. First of all, how tough that tournament was.
Good old Bryson, huh?
Bryson DeChambeau.
See, you notice I didn't say that last name. I didn't want to cuss.
Well, I mean, he caught my eye this year when they started back after Corona, and they started playing again, and I couldn't believe how bulked up he was. And he went in the weight room, and I don't know the number of pounds he gained. It looks like 30. But all of a sudden, he came back from kind of a thin, not a big guy, to a jacked. I mean, jacked. This guy looks fantastic, so big. And he started hitting the ball further than anybody else. I mean, just pounding his drives, and very competitive. And, in every tournament, top 10, things that he wasn't doing. He was a good golfer before, but he went on a weight program. He went on an exercise program, put himself in incredible shape, and it's really paid off. But he was fantastic. I know a lot of you probably watched the U.S. Open. I know I was interested in. The most interesting thing to me was the scores. The scores were so terrible, and guys like Phil Mickelson and Tiger, they didn't even make the cut Saturday. But there was Justin Thomas had a big lead. He was on the lead. He fell apart Saturday and Sunday. But that wow moment for me was for this kid to go out and play consistent, play great golf every single round, in a very tough wing foot, a very tough golf course, and he went out and took it. And that was awesome to me. But he just can drive the hell out of the ball.
He looks like one of those guys where he's naturally talented.
Yeah.
But what he did this offseason was he put that little extra work to hone his craft.
Yeah.
And it paid off right now, winning a major like this.
Yeah, and because of the pandemic, he took advantage of it. The time off, it wasn't the normal golf. It hasn't been the normal golf season, and he went out and he worked his tail off. And to me, I love anybody who is a talented athlete, a Kobe Bryant type. They're so good, but they still want to be better, and they work harder than everybody else. I love when there's a great athlete that works harder than everybody else. I mean, to me, there's that guy that comes from way down here to up here because he worked so hard, and his hard work paid off. But the top athlete that works hard, that is already good, those are the guys I love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I was real respectful of what he did in his interview afterwards, and such a humble guy. And just quickly, we'll finish this up and go on to baseball. But the thing about it was, they asked him, about his success. What made you successful? What has made you so good? And he said, my failures have made me what I am. And they kept, well, how did that relate to you winning this tournament? And he was like, well, the times I have failed, I remembered my failures, and my failures are the most defining moments in my life. And I've never heard that many athletes say that. And he said, because I have failed a lot, it has made me a better athlete, but I never forget the failures. And by the way, I will have more failures. And I thought, wow, what an interesting perspective. I mean, what is your thought on that?
It goes to show you that he's always thinking not necessarily, he's thinking how I can be better, or not do those same mistakes again, or learn from it. In a sense, he takes a different approach.
He does.
The situation is it's still 18 holes, but how do I approach them from the last time I was not successful? And I do remember not being successful on these 18 holes, and I changed those things to make myself better, like going to the gym and bulking up so he can hit the ball further, and still, and he's still humble too. Like, that's
such
so awesome.
a humble guy.
Oh.
But to see him there, it was amazing to me, because most athletes don't talk that way. For him to say, my failures are what made me successful, and even right to win in this tournament, and that's a big tournament, a lot of money, a big prestige.
Yeah, no. Well, now he has a target on his back. Everybody's coming for him.
He's impressed me. Anyways, I really enjoyed watching the U.S. Open, and good for him, and congratulations. That was fun to watch, and to see the humility and the way he stuck in there the whole tournament, much more than anybody else. There was a lot of bad scores in that tournament. On to the next thing. Let's talk a little baseball. Baseball playoffs start next week.
Yep.
Who you like? What do you think? Give me a perspective of what you think about what's going on in the National League and the American League, and who looks tough to you. I can see the records here. In the American League, Tampa Bay, Chicago, Oakland, Minnesota, Yankees, Cleveland, all pretty good records. National League, the Dodgers are crazy good.
So,
but what's your impression of the American League? Who you like in the playoffs?
Like I said last week, I like Tampa Bay because I just think they've always been a disruptor in the American League for quite a few years now. I'm still gonna stick with them. I wouldn't be surprised if the Yankees actually do something. It's one of those where they're injured, but they have injuries, but the heart will bring them over the hump and they'll make a big difference. Because sometimes you're one pitch, one hit away from winning a series, and
Baseball's crazy like
it's
that.
different once postseason starts. It's different now. The way that the lineups are, starting pitchers become relievers.
Oh,
it's crazy. So on the American League side, my favorite, the one that I'm picking is going to be Tampa Bay, but don't be surprised about New York. On the National League side, just because you like the Dodgers, I'm going to go against them.
Oh man, how can you do that? I love the Dodgers to win it all.
So
I've been saying that for 3 years, by the way.
So one of the things that when I was stationed in Camp Pendleton, the Padres used to send us free tickets all the time.
Yeah,
so,
close by.
You know what? I have a special place in my heart for them. So I'm gonna pick the Padres as far as that team that's gonna make a difference.
So you think Tampa Bay Padres in the World Series?
You never know.
Well, no. That's why we're here. Hey, think about it and talk about what we like and don't like, and let our audience know and give them something to think about. For me, as I look at this and I look at the standings, Tampa Bay has led all year. The White Sox, for the first time in a long time, it's been forever since they made the playoffs. They're having a great year. Oakland, I think Oakland's short of pitching. The Twins, they just don't ever seem to get over the hump. I go back to the team you talked about, the Yankees. I think the Yankees have had a lot of injuries. Guys are getting healthy. People are coming back. They won a lot of games in a row. I think they lost last night after winning, 11 in a row. The Yankees are playing good ball. I think that they got the combination of pitching and having Derek Cole is the difference in the world. I mean, that guy can, win 3 games in a playoff series, in a 7-game series. So I like, like he did for Houston. I like the Yankees from the American League. I think they're going to be there, though. It's going to be competitive. There's some good teams. In the National League, I mean, nobody's close to the Dodgers. They've got an incredible lineup. The Dodgers' shortcoming is long relief, and Kenley Jansen has not been good the last several weeks, and he's their big closer. They also have Joe Kelly, who was so good for Boston when they won it a few years back. He's over there with the Dodgers now, and he really hasn't come to the form he had when he was in the American League. But he could turn it around. But I got to pick the Dodgers, and I think the only team that could beat the Dodgers, if that happens, is the Braves. I think it's going to be a Braves-Dodger National League Championship Series with the Dodgers winning it, and I think it's going to be Yankees versus. It's a tough one. I'm going to have to say Minnesota. Last week I was on Minnesota, but not as much this week. I'm going to say Yankees versus Minnesota. Yankees win. Dodgers, Yankees, World Series. Yeah, baby. Woo! Dodgers, Yankees. Wouldn't you love to see that?
Oh,
Wouldn't you love to see that, Dodgers, Yankees?
MLB would love that.
Oh, my God. Hey, dream come true. Dodgers, Yankees. Being a New Yorker, you're a New Yorker.
Hey, and just so you know, the Dodgers were actually in Brooklyn before they went out.
Of course. Before they headed west.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you a Yankee fan, a Mets? I know you wore that Mets hat.
I'm a Mets.
When it comes to playoffs, do you naturally become a Yankee fan? Because the Mets, they enjoy your vacation. Like they do on TNT, gone fishing. Goodbye. It's over. It's over after Sunday for the Mets again.
If the Yankees are in it, I'm always rooting for them. Don't be surprised with the A's.
I won't.
I know they have
bang
their
the ball.
issues,
I won't.
But they're in a position right now where I think if they get hot, they'll be very destructive.
Oakland is a very scrappy ball club. That is the thing about the American League. I mean, I would not be surprised if Cleveland ended up, being in the championship of the American League. I would not be surprised if the White Sox. I wouldn't be surprised. I would be surprised. Yeah, everybody's got a shot there. So, yeah, Oakland, Chicago, Tampa Bay, Minnesota, New York, Cleveland. I don't think Toronto's going to do much. So, it's a top 8, but I won't be surprised, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Yankees. That's who I feel has the most talent, and they're going to be there. And the Dodgers, I think this is their year. After 3 years in a row of getting there and not doing anything,
And especially
losing in the end.
especially what Houston did to them.
Houston, how about Washington last year?
No, I'm talking about that little.
Clayton Kershaw. The playoff nightmares continue. I hope not. Anyways, I think the Dodgers are going to win it all. Man, that lineup they got, there are no weaknesses in their lineup.
They've always had that lineup.
Well, they didn't have Mookie Betts. Wait a minute
Oh,
now.
but they've always spent money to win.
Yeah, they spent a whole bunch
they
more.
come up short every year. So
I agree with you.
What's going to make the difference this year? Mookie?
Mookie.
Okay.
And Clayton Kershaw is going to have a good playoffs, which he's never had in his life.
And this is the year?
This is the year. They're going to win it all.
Okay. And that's all hard?
I'm going with the Dodgers. And by the way, I like your team, San Diego. They have been a joy to watch. They have a great lineup, a combination of veterans and young players, a couple of rookies in there. Manny Machado has had the year of his career. I mean, he has had an incredible year. And I keep saying, when he was with the Dodgers, I'm like, this guy's a loser. What a bum. What a bum. I mean, he was there to help win the World Series. He didn't do anything. But in San Diego this year, Manny Machado, props to you, bro. I got to tell you, you've had a great year, and much respect because you've led that team. And, yay, the Padres are they're for real. They could beat the Dodgers. I don't think so. Atlanta, they're for real. I don't think so. I don't think the Dodgers are beatable by anybody. But I hope we have a good playoffs and some exciting games. But,
The last time I was this excited for the Padres was back in the day when Tony Gwynn used to play.
What a great player.
Yeah.
What a hitter, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, he guys like him and Rod Carew, really back in the day, they always put the bat on the ball. And I love guys that put the bat on the ball and advance runners and sacrifice flies and hits and home runs. They're just
but
great
he had
players.
power too, man.
Oh man, he was one of the best to ever play the game. But old school baseball was fun, but now it's a home run game. The other night, who was that? They hit 5 home runs in a row. One of the teams, I believe it was American League. Who was that? I watch so much sports. But
it all blends in because it's like
oh
the game after game.
But I couldn't believe it. 5 straight home runs. That's almost impossible. How do you do it? 5 straight home runs. You think the pitcher would just like bean somebody or hit somebody so they could get on without hitting a home run or cause a fight or something?
But they can't do
5
it.
straight home runs. Oh my God.
The third one would have gotten hit, but you can't do that anymore. The umps are really watching that right now.
I know. They throw them out. It's ridiculous.
All right, enough about baseball.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Hey, let's go. I enjoy talking about baseball. That was fun. Let's talk a little NASCAR. Just a little NASCAR. Big change. Michael Jordan is going to be an owner in NASCAR.
Yeah.
Bubba Wallace is going to drive his car. What do you think about Michael getting into NASCAR?
It's actually crazy, because that's not something that, as a black kid growing up, following NASCAR and stuff, it wasn't until I was older, and when I was in the Corps, because we were stationed with everybody from different parts of the country,
Sure.
and then they're watching NASCAR. I'm watching NASCAR. Who's that? Oh, that's Jeff Gordon. Oh, okay. Oh, he's winning. And then we had one of our rap songs. Nelly started talking about Jeff Gordon, and they're like, oh, I know him. So so since then I started following NASCAR. In fact, one of my first ever playing fantasy sports was actually NASCAR.
That's interesting.
And of course, I picked Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
Back then, so that's probably a good 20 years ago.
Yeah, NASCAR is fun. A lot of people love it. It's very big when it comes to Vegas. I mean, they have so many events and they sell it out.
We actually got 2 races here. If it wasn't for the pandemic we're in right now, we've had 2 races now, and it's hard to get a NASCAR race, but it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
It's a blast, and it really caught my eye that Michael Jordan got involved and he owns a car now. And again, Bubba Wallace, who has been a bit controversial on some things and what's going on with the world these days. It's interesting that he would be their driver, but it's a natural, right? That's Michael Jordan involved in the sport. That was probably his only choice.
Well, he does his homework because I think he would actually. He wouldn't just buy a team rather than invest in a team, but he probably did his homework enough to actually, oh, you know what, I'm actually going to have my own team rather than just invest in a couple dollars here and there to make a difference. No, he wants to make a splash, and I think with his money and his clout coming with it, I think he might actually have a successful team.
And they'll find a way to win. And the funny thing about it is a lot of these car owners in NASCAR, they have 3, 4, 5 different drivers and cars. They have a lot of cars. This is strictly they're purchasing one car. They're representing one car. And Bubba Wallace is going to drive. And, over time they'll get more cars like, the big guys in the sport like Joe Gibbs, who, went from being a great football coach to a great NASCAR owner. And he's very, very successful. But, Cale Yarborough, those type of people, very successful in NASCAR. But he's starting with one car. And it'll be fun to see how they do and, what's going on. It'll be a lot the fun.
And, well, he actually has a decent driver with Bubba.
He's a very good driver.
So it's good that that's the way he's starting.
I'll be watching him. You'll be watching him, right?
Of course I will be.
They got fan interest already. 2 for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So let's get into the most prominent thing going on right now, basketball, playoffs. And we'll start with WNBA. The final 4 teams are great Las Vegas Aces, who had a great record this year, are in the championship of the West, and they're playing Connecticut. Series is 1-1. If you haven't watched the Aces play, Asia Wilson is a beast. What a player! I saw her last night in a game that was 75-all in a series that Connecticut was up 1-0. Will her team to win that game and get the series 1-1. She took over at the end.
That's the grit and the will to win.
Oh, what a winner.
That'll make a big difference.
What a great player, and of course, Bill Laimbeer, the great Detroit Piston. What you talk about, a gritty guy. He's the coach, and it's a 1-1 series with Connecticut, and I think our Aces are going to end up going to the finals, and let's hope the Las Vegas Aces win it all. Again, great leadership from Asia Wilson. What a great player. Love watching her. And then on the other side, you got Seattle and Minnesota. I believe that series is 1-1. Seattle won last night on a buzzer beater. Real tough series. I think Seattle's going to end up winning that.
Yeah, Seattle has a better record, and they have the same record as our Aces. So I think.
Yeah, they had the same record. 1-2 in the conference. The only reason that they gave the best record to the Aces, the number one spot, because they had beaten Seattle. So they're going to end up playing each other again, and I'll take the Aces. This is their year.
Absolutely, and hey, you finally go with our home team.
Yeah, finally.
Finally.
Hey, all you Raider lovers are hating me. Well, we'll get to that later.
I can't wait.
Hey, I'll let Crow in our next show. Listen, he's going to make me, my buddy here that we love doing these shows together. I'm going to eat crow today, and we got a little special segment for you all today. Anyways, let's talk about NBA real quick and wrap this up and get to our football show, because I know everybody's wanting to see how we did last week and what we're going to do next week in the NFL, because that's where the money is in fantasy football and that stuff. Such a fun game. But your impression of the playoffs right now here at the end? Lakers, Denver. We thought the Lakers up 2-0.
We're going to steamroll.
We're going to steamroll them. And what happened last night?
Denver adjusted, and instead of Lakers continue to play their ball, they instead adjusted to Denver and could not keep up. Where in the fourth quarter, when they made that comeback, you're like, oh my God, is this gonna be it for Denver? And no, the Lakers looked tired.
Yeah, when it was time, when they got within 3 points after being down 20. I mean, they came running in the fourth. I told my brother-in-law, I was watching the game with him, I said, listen, Lakers are going to win this game. He said, no. Lakers are going to get tired. He said, Denver will hang on, which they did, and they really extended the lead at the end. But you're right, the Lakers were exhausted. Yeah. And I don't know if that was the mental exhaustion from the game before where Anthony Davis hits that buzzer beater, 30-footer, to win that game. I mean, the Lakers should be down 2-1. They really should be down 2-1 in this series, technically, yeah.
They should have been
on paper,
2-1. But then I also think because of that shot, they came in overconfident.
Yeah,
and
a bit cocky,
and not showing Denver that respect. They played their butts off to get where they're at right now.
Yeah.
So it's a series.
It's a series, and I like that. I actually see the Lakers winning. They play tomorrow night?
Maybe in 6.
I see the Lakers winning it tomorrow easily, and take that series 3-1. Denver may get the next game, make it 3-2, and the Lakers will end up winning that series 4-2, in my opinion. Now, every time I say that Denver's done,
They come
who
right
thought
back.
they'd come back from 3-1 with the Clippers? Let's not talk about the Clippers. That's a 2.5-hour show for another time with those friggin' head cases. Who even wants to talk about the Clippers? Anyways, in the other division, another great series. Boston gets off the mat. They look terrible against Miami, and Miami really had their number. But Boston, 5 guys over 20 points. Boston had a great game, and they had an answer for the zone defense. And Miami was beating them with the zone. They went from man to zone. Miami went to the zone this last game, and Boston ate them up. Boston ate them up this week.
And this is where coaches don't get enough credit, and at times you'll see coaches get out coach. This is where Brad Stevens stepped up to the plate and said, "I will not be out coached by Spoelstra," and made adjustments, and went over some stuff in practice, and it came into fruition during the game.
And all those arguments they had in the locker room also helped. Boy, they make a big thing of everything. A couple of reporters heard them yelling at each other. Marcus Smart, who's a leader and a very passionate guy. I love that guy. He plays so hard. He makes a lot of mistakes, but he plays hard. And Marcus Smart, I guess, pretty much went off on all of them and after game 2 and was embarrassed. They came back. Game 3 played well. And, we got another game coming up tonight. And it's interesting. I tell you, for me, it's a pick 'em. I can't. I'm not going to bet the game. Fortunately, I didn't bet the Lakers last night, but is it going to go 2-2?
No.
Neither series
No.
is going to go 2-2.
No.
The Lakers are going to go 3-1,
Yes.
and Miami's going to go 3-1. Miami's got their number tonight?
I think they don't have a choice. Jimmy Butler does not like to be in this position.
No, he's
and
another passionate one.
And then you have with Riley coming out on the top, then you have Spoelstra coming down to Jimmy Butler. All that they're going to make adjustments in that locker room, and we're going to see a difference tonight.
What a class organization. Pat Riley at the top. I see him there looking at those games. He's had so much success with the Lakers and Miami, and Pat Riley is just a great leader. And then you got Eric Spoelstra, who was so well trained.
Started from the bottom.
He was trained. Yeah, he was like, he broke down film.
Yeah.
That's what he did with the organization. They gave him a job, and he built to where he is. He's a great coach. And I think it's really, people were thinking Brad Stevens had been out-coached in this series. He was early. I think that both these guys are really great coaches, 2 of the best in the NBA. And I think this is going to be a 7-game series. I don't think Miami goes 3-1. I think Boston wins it. So our first controversy of the show today. Wow. It took us 30 minutes. Anyways, I'll take Boston.
I'll take Miami.
Case of beer?
Yeah.
Okay. Beer of your choice? Okay.
I can afford a case.
Hey, I know that.
I know you can afford. I know you can afford a pallet, but I can take care of a case.
Listen, I don't even want to talk about that after the week I had in football. Hey, anyways, thanks for watching the show today. It's been a lot of fun. We covered some really good things that have been going on, some epic moments in sports, some crazy moments. It's been a fun week, and it's been fun talking about it. We're going to move right over to our football show next, which we'll rate the games and talk about. It's crazy. 11 teams haven't won a game yet in the NFL. That's unheard of. 11 teams. So we got a lot of surprises for you on that show. And I get a little humble, so that's pretty much never happened. So
that's a surprise.
That's a surprise, me getting humble. But to wrap this show up, to wrap this week up, give me a closing thought.
Go Aces.
Go Aces. I like it. Good. Let's finish on that. Go Aces. Thanks for watching. God bless. We'll talk to you next week. Please follow up with our football show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. Watch us on our NFL strategies, picks, all kinds of stuff. Thank you. God bless. Talk to you soon.